The 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix was the wildest weekend Formula One has seen all season, packed with twists, red flags, virtual safety cars, dramatic crashes, and constant FIA probes. With only 3 races left, it's hard to imagine anything topping this one. And yet, despite all the chaos and pure racing thrills, the FIA still managed to drain the excitement from what could have been an iconic event. From delayed starts to multiple restarts and 5 retirements, including the reigning champ starting all the way down in P17. It had all the makings of a classic race. George Russell's electric start, where he muscled past pole sitter Lando Norris, was a spectacle, though that moment quickly faded in the tidal wave of events that followed. Undeterred by a tough qualifying session and an FIA penalty, Verstappen's charge up the grid was nothing short of spectacular. In the first lap alone, he gained 7 positions, making it clear he wasn't going to let FIA's controversial rulings slow him down. Starting near the back and slicing his way through to victory, Verstappen sent a powerful message. He'd rather let his driving do the talking, and by the time the checkered flag waved, the Dutchman had not only secured a sensational win but reminded everyone that he's the man to beat, FIA penalties or not. Max Verstappen's triumph at the Brazilian Grand Prix stands as a pinnacle in his illustrious Formula One career. While his 2021 Abu Dhabi victory was monumental in its outcome, this performance showcased his exceptional skill and determination. Starting from the 17th on a rain-soaked track, Verstappen not only maintained control, but surged ahead to claim a commanding win. Even with the advantage of a red flag, his ability to navigate treacherous conditions and outpace the competition was nothing short of remarkable. This drive exemplifies the caliber of a true champion, and could be the decisive factor in securing his 4th world title. He has delivered a crushing blow to Lando Norris's championship dreams with a jaw-dropping drive, a race that will be remembered for years. How many times this season have we found ourselves saying, McLaren shot themselves in the foot? Way too often for a team aiming for a championship. Think back to Hungary, where a potential 1-2 finish turned into a crisis. Or Monza, when a bungled pit strategy gifted Ferrari their own 1-2. Then there was just yesterday's sprint race, with Norris sounding off over the radio about being held up behind Piastri. But it's the Italian Grand Prix blunder that feels most relevant after today. With the rain intensifying, the smart call was to stay out and wait for an inevitable safety car, or red flag. And what did McLaren do? Pitted Norris at exactly the wrong moment, missing the advantage of both a virtual safety car and a full safety car, not to mention the red flag that came soon after. Meanwhile, Red Bull, the team that's mastered the art of winning, played it right. It's hard to avoid the harsh reality here. McLaren may have a fast car, but they're still not ready for the big leagues. Time and again, they're sitting at the adults' table but playing like kids. If they don't get it together soon, they'll waste what could be their best car in years. This team has growing up to do, and they're quickly running out of time. Only 5 drivers in the past 1121 Grand Prix in F1 history had previously won from 17th or lower. Such was the magnitude of the Verstappen's triumph that has pushed him 62 points clear of Norris, with only 86 on the table. It is feat unmatched since Kimi Raikkonen's victory 19 years ago. Verstappen crossed the finish line a staggering 19.4 seconds ahead of Alpine's Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, who secured unexpected 2nd and 3rd places. George Russell held on for 4th, narrowly ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Starting from pole, Norris struggled on the slippery Sao Paulo track, veering off twice and ultimately settling for a disappointing 6th place. If Verstappen finishes ahead of Norris in Las Vegas on November 24th, the championship will be his. Reflecting on his remarkable performance, Verstappen shared, "Today has been a whirlwind of emotions. Qualifying didn't go our way with the red flag, and starting from P17, I knew it'd be a challenge, but we stayed out of trouble and made the right calls. Winning from that far back, it's just unbelievable." Lando Norris held firm that his errors weren't the reason Max Verstappen claimed victory in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, arguing that Red Bull simply had a far superior pace compared to McLaren. While he admitted a bit of wheel spin at the start allowed George Russell to jump him, Norris speculated that starting from the left side might have offered better grip than his right side grid position. As for McLaren's call to pit on lap 29, he shrugged off any notion of a tactical misstep, instead voicing frustration with the rule allowing drivers to change tyres under a red flag. "It was the right call to box, no doubt," Norris stated. "I don't regret it. It's just bad luck. The red flag rule is a silly one. No one really agrees with it. But of course, if it works in your favour, you'll support it. Every driver said it needs changing, yet here we are. It helped Verstappen today, so fair play to them." McLaren used team orders to let Oscar Piastri move aside for Norris, but even then, he couldn't close in on Leclerc's Ferrari hurry, ultimately crossing the line in 6th. Reflecting on Verstappen's blistering pace in the final stint, Norris was blunt. "We just weren't fast enough. Max had us covered without a sweat." Norris was candid about Red Bull's performance edge, admitting that Verstappen's pace advantage would have likely seen him win, even if McLaren had executed a flawless strategy. "Honestly, if Max had started up front, he'd probably have lapped us," Norris confessed. "Our pace was decent, similar to George's, but Red Bull was on another level." The British driver took a philosophical view of the race, acknowledging both his mistakes and Red Bull's outright dominance. "Yeah, quite the day," he sighed. "George probably feels like he won the race today. He deserved it more than anyone. Realistically, I probably should have finished 3rd. Max likely would have beaten us no matter what." In the end, Norris chalked it up to a mixture of misfortune and a fierce rival. "Just unlucky for us, but nothing more. I made a few mistakes that cost me, but Verstappen was in a league of his own." Now Lando Norris finds himself under scrutiny after a peculiar incident even before the Brazilian Grand Prix had kicked off at Interlagos. Confusion reigned on the grid as Lance Stroll's misfortune during the formation lap caused a wave of uncertainty about whether cars should stay put or leave the grid, as the race start had been aborted. This chaotic start came on the heels of a qualifying session already disrupted by Brazil's notorious weather. Heavy rain on Sunday morning forced a reshuffling of the schedule, and 5 red flags turned qualifying into a chaotic scramble. Amidst the turmoil, Norris managed to secure his 5th pole in the last 7 Grand Prix, a promising start on a difficult day. The formation lap, however, quickly unravelled into chaos. At turn 4, Stroll's Aston Martin found itself beached in the gravel, a disastrous setback for a team that had only just managed to repair his car after the damp qualifying session. His off-track mishap triggered an aborted race start, prompting some drivers to stay on the grid, while others, including Norris, proceeded. Verstappen, already eyeing the championship, opted to stay on the grid, radioing his team that he was waiting for the green light. Norris, however, left the grid without that signal, as did George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson, landing all 4 under FIA investigation for starting procedure infractions. With unclear regulations around these situations, their actions have raised questions, with FIA scrutiny looming over whether penalties may be on the table. Sky F1 commentator David Croft explained that the investigation wouldn't be resolved during the race itself, leaving Norris and his fellow challengers to race under a cloud of uncertainty. Any penalties issued post-race could be devastating for Norris, casting a shadow over his chances in his maiden title bid. With only 3 races left, do you believe Norris still has a shot at the title, or has Verstappen officially closed the door on his chances? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.